Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to my first game review of 2023. This year for gaming, in case if you did not see my video, looks like it'll be huge. But kicking things off, I'll be talking about Forspoken. This is the latest game from Square Enix, and it's from the same team that brought us Final Fantasy 15, which was a damn good Final Fantasy game, I thought. Now, before I continue on, to be fully transparent, I was provided with a review code from Square Enix, and the footage that you're seeing is captured from a PS5 on performance mode. Something else I do want to mention before moving on with the review, I've seen a lot, and I mean a lot of people judging this game based on maybe 20 seconds of footage. Now that I've played the game, here's what I can say. Is this game nearly as bad as people are saying? Personally, I don't think so. However, is the game good? Unfortunately, no. Forspoken is just okay. Getting into the plot, in Forspoken, you play as Frey, a young woman who is transported from New York City to the fantasy world of Athia. She uses magical powers to journey through it and survive in order to find her way home. Let's get into everything I liked. I will say, starting with the graphics, bear with me here. There are certain parts when playing on ray tracing mode or quality mode where the game does look pretty good. Not absolutely mind-blowing, unfortunately. However, on performance mode from my time playing, the game does run buttery smooth. I will say that the world of Athia does have some spots where it generally does look really cool and times where the colors bounce. More to say later. One thing in particular that I really dug about Forspoken is the lore of the world. Now, as far as I'm aware, Amy Hennig was part of writing the lore of the game. Yes, the same Amy Hennig that brought us Legacy of Kain and Uncharted. When you get to certain parts of the game, whether it's in the exploration of the world or reading certain parts of the text, I think it can be a really cool world. When hearing bits of dialogue, there's certain parts where I said, okay, that's pretty cool. Now, one thing I do have to discuss, and I will also discuss this later, the dialogue. Now, I know loads of people are hating, and I mean hating on the dialogue in this game. Me personally, I didn't hate it. In fact, there were quite a few lines of dialogue that did make me laugh. I actually liked the banter between Frey and Cuff. The fish out of water dialogue in the story had spots that I thought really worked for me. Another thing I had fun with were the side quests and or dungeons. As a matter of fact, I had more fun with these things rather than doing the story itself, which, like I've mentioned before, I'll discuss this later. I had a lot of fun going to different dungeons and not only learning more about the world of Athia, but fighting the really cool enemies at the end of each dungeon. My absolute favorite thing about the game was just doing parkour and traversing across the huge world of Athia. Seriously, it's huge. Even if some bits, well, I'll discuss that later. But getting into the combat, I really liked the mix of ranged and melee combat, and in fact, I found that once you unlock the melee, the game really opens up, and I personally found it to be a lot of fun. One more thing I like to mention is the customization of the clothing. I will say I liked the addition of it. Now, unfortunately, getting on to the things I wasn't so much a fan of. I didn't think Forspoken was nearly as bad as others were saying. However, I didn't necessarily like Forspoken either. It's a game that I think tries to do a lot, and it's a very ambitious game at that, but I don't think it quite pulls it off. Getting into the actual story, right off the bat, Forspoken doesn't give a good first impression. Within the opening 3 hours, it's a game that I kept telling myself, okay, I'm just hoping the game gets slightly better. Now, in my personal opinion, I do think it got slightly better as it got along, but as far as the opening goes, ouch. And it uses its opening hours to dump loads of exposition. At one point, I almost hit skip every time a cutscene was playing. Now, one thing I didn't particularly understand was the amount of times this game did a fade to black transition, especially when going from cutscene to gameplay, when there were plenty of times where I was able to seamlessly go from cutscene to gameplay with no transition at it. Something else, I wasn't really a fan of Frey's character, and her characterization not only felt stale, but just rushed all together. There were a lot of times where it felt like a pivotal part of her character arc should have given a little more time to breathe, but it felt like it was just skimmed over. In particular, there was a part in the first few chapters of the game where something very important happens, and well, it felt like it just happens. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the banter between Frey and Cuff, but the characterization could have been worked on so much more. Now, getting on to the graphics themselves. Given how this is a game that's supposed to be taking full advantage of the power of PS5, the game isn't particularly a good looking one. I remember when this game was first announced as Project Thea, and it looked incredible. But then when I played the demo, it looked like it got a major downgrade. Don't get me wrong, graphics don't make a game, but I found the world of Athea to be a drab and a dull world to look at. And while there's different areas of Athea to explore, they didn't look that good either. The colors were there for sure, but the detail I felt wasn't. When he first started in New York, oh my god, does it look ugly. You can play Forspoken in either quality mode, ray tracing mode, or performance mode. The main difference between the modes, quality and ray tracing mode, only look slightly sharper, with performance mode running at a smoother frame rate. Even quality mode, which is supposed to have 4K visuals, it felt like 720p scaled to 1080. Getting into the combat once more, while the combat is fun, there are loads of enemies that are just sponges, especially lower leveled enemies that you still see later on, and there are times when I definitely felt like the evasive button just wasn't responsive where it should have been. Also, I wonder why the melee combat opens up halfway through the game. So overall, Forspoken is a game that had lots, and I mean lots of potential, but in my personal opinion, it falls short. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate the game at all, but did I like the game? Given the talent behind the game, this game really should have been so much better. All in all, I'm going to give Forspoken a 6 out of 10. Is it a game that I'm glad I played? Absolutely. But is this a game that I could see myself replaying? No. And honestly, I'd wait till this game drops in price to like 20-30 bucks. It just isn't worth it for $70. So comment down below and let me know. Have you guys played Forspoken? What did you all think of it? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat. So if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links in the users' names are in the description below. That's going to wrap it up for my review of Forspoken. I hope you all enjoyed it. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell for my latest review goes live. If you guys want to see my previous 2 reviews, please go to the left or right side of the screen. And of course, if my next review or video goes live, I will see you all next time.
Sounds like a fun hobby.